I've received. So thanks for the intros.
We need to fix that next time.
While he's getting that ready, let me just ask, just show of hands, who has either used JUMP or is familiar with the software? Just so I can give you a calibration. Okay. For those of you that may not have used JUMP or familiar with the software, it's similar to Minitab, if you've used that, or any real analytical type software. I was first trained on Minitab. I kind of converted over to JUMP. I love it now. It's kind of superior to the other ones that I've used. And basically what we're going to talk about is a journey that Rick and I took, really challenging ourselves with the tool. Our level probably going into this was maybe novice to beginner. And coming out of it, I would say, probably a little better than that. You know, and I attribute it a lot to the tool and a lot of the intuitive things. That's kind of how we calibrate this speech. It's a lot of an exploration and a learning thing that hopefully grabs on and gives you some inspiration that you could use a tool like this to kind of come up with some conclusions. Okay. So here's the agenda we're going to go through. I'll spend just a couple minutes talking about the background Sandia Labs and some of the background on the knowledge study that it's called the RAC-C that we use for our data. Then we'll go into some of our analyses, and the ones with asterisks on them, there will be actually in the application doing the analytics inside JUMP. We'll finish it off with lessons learned and then some Q&A at the end. And a couple things I wanted to point out here is JUMP also offers you what do they call it, a list or a script embedded inside the JUMP program to where we could actually, we're going to present most of this presentation off of the JUMP application. We just use a couple PowerPoint slides. And then another one too, when you get to that bullet of the hypothesis testing, we're going to show you a whole bunch of ways, because a lot of times we'll talk, especially at Sandia, we'll talk to PhD statisticians that'll be like, hey, just tell me what the p-value is and I'm ready to move on. Or we might be able to talk to HR folks that will be like, I have no idea what you're talking about with p-value, but tell me if it's good or bad. And
the restrooms are down the halls.
but JUMP, really, especially with some of its visual stuff, hopefully we'll get into it and really show the point, is it can allow you to go either spectrum. You know, you could talk with eyes, or you could really make it visual so that it proves the point without talking about any kind of values and stuff. So. Excuse me. So a little bit of background on Sandia. We're a government-owned, contractor-operated, or GOCO model, for what we call it. Some of our history, we started off in AT&T 1949, where we've had some different contracts. You see Martin Marietta. We are currently being managed under Lockheed Martin, where our contract has expired. We're on a one-year contract extension now, so we're coming up to bid actually right now to where they would either extend it with Lockheed Martin or some other contractor. And we're a federally funded research and development center. This history slide here points out that we're really we can trace the roots of Sandia back to the Manhattan Project, nuclear history, and it really stems to this letter. And the reason I like to put this letter up is because it's something we still kind of carry as our mantra today. And it's a letter that President Truman wrote, and it's got one detail there in the bottom, and it says, "In my opinion, you have an opportunity to render exceptional service in the national interest." So even today in the halls and stuff, you could see that quote up there, and it's kind of what we look towards is when we point our compasses, if you will, on national service, exceptional service. So Lean and Six Sigma at Sandia. Rick and I are both black belts. We work for the corporate Lean and Six Sigma department, and we're part of a bigger entity which represents about 740 green belts, 50 black belts, and 7 master black belts throughout the complex of around 9,000 employees. We use JUMP as our primary analytical analysis tool for doing statistics and other kind of data analytics. Our department in particular, there's 4 full-time black belts, master black belts, Rick's a master black belt. And a lot of our responsibilities are we manage metrics from a corporate level, we take care of certifications, we do a lot of the training, and we do a lot of mentoring as well from a corporate standpoint. And then we also serve as kind of a focal liaison for a lot of the black belts that are throughout the different divisions.
All right, so I'll give you a little bit of background about the actual project that we'll be talking about here. And I'll go back a little bit further. Has anybody here had an EEG done on their brain before? Had the pleasure of wearing the helmet in the upper right-hand corner there? No? Nobody? I actually had the pleasure. I wasn't a participant in this particular study, but it's what led to this study. There was a different study on memory. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, but anyway, as part of my study, you have to put on this helmet. It looks a lot, that's not it exactly, but it looks a lot like that. And it has little suction cups all over your head, and each little suction cup gets some gel and has little electrodes. And in my case, you had to sit in a dark room for like 2 or 3 hours, memorize a list of stuff, and regurgitate them. It's very tedious. And similar study here, and the example you see, for those of you that has anything that you can write, what I like, and if you have a pen and something to write on, it's handy. If you don't, it's not a big deal. But if you do, I'd like you to go ahead and take it out just real quick and draw the number 8. So just real quick, draw the number 8. Yeah, just a second to do that. And those that don't have anything, just kind of pretend like you're writing the number 8. And show of hands, how many of you draw the number 8 kind of, the continuous thing like that? Just most people? How many do the little snowman 2-circle thing? A couple of you? All right. So this test is really designed for the first group of you. And this is one of many of the RAC-C tests. And the challenge of this test is really when you're kind of doing that figure 8 pattern. On the screen there, you're supposed to trace the 8, and slowly those 2 circles will separate. And it's a timing thing to see when you change your strategy from this to the 2-circle thing. And you kind of notice that, oh, okay, now we got 2 circles instead of an 8. So just kind of an example of one of the many tests that these people had to go through. But the EEG thing, and kind of a side story on the helmet there, the test happens off-site, and again, you got gel and little suction things. And so when you get done getting tested, you got to drive on site. And those of you familiar with Sandia, there's guards there, and they check your ID and stuff. And, you get funny looks. It looks like you got attacked by an octopus. But, so interesting dealing with security with that kind of thing. Anyway, they hook you up in EEGs that they measure the electrical activity of your brain in different circumstances. You'll see some data where they measure with your eyes closed, eyes open. That changes the amount of electricity. There's all kinds of different things. So it mentions it's there. All these tests were graded against a standard, so we kind of know what's above average, what's average, and what's below. All those kinds of things. I think with that, we're going to switch.
So as we took on this challenge, if you guys haven't guessed already, Rick knows what he knows about EEGs after this whole analysis. We didn't know anything about this. In fact, before Rick did the study, we had no idea this kind of went on in Sandia. But we took it on as a challenge. We wanted to see if we could use the analytical software to make some sense out of something we just had data, pure data to look at, and really didn't have any background. And you guys could judge to see if we did.
And just maybe one more piece of background. Before the study, Dave and I decided we were going to present at the Jump Conference. We're going to do our best. This kind of fell into our lap. This is what we did.
So we asked these guys, this division of Sandia that works on these type of things, and they collect data from dime to dime. We asked them, and we got the approvals, and they said, okay, go to town. In fact, we were at a funding. You guys are helping us out by looking at this stuff. So they sent us data, and first thing we did is we stuck it into Jump, and this is what it looked like. It made absolutely no sense to us, and had a bunch of spaces, wasn't formatted, and Jump didn't even know what to do with it. So our first move was to just do what anybody would do and kind of clean up the data. One thing that was good about JMP is I wasn't familiar with JMP hardly at all at this point, but I was very familiar with Excel and Microsoft Access. JMP has a lot of great features that talk back and forth to other applications. So I was easily able to go into something I was familiar with, massage the data, and then get it imported back into JMP. And I think the second section, Rick's going to